If I thought that using growth hormone was beneficial to me with no negative side effects, no cost to my life, my longevity, wouldn't I be using it? FYI, it costs exceedingly high prices. It's more expensive by probably 20-fold than using testosterone. Oh, and for the editors, there's another video where, what's his name? That guy with bald, we're doing a video. Nick Trigilli.
This is a brain rot special.
Tiamatich cooking in the basement.
Coach Greg, and we're here yet again, doing a video on Mr. Mike, formerly known as Dr. Mike, who's going to explain to us 3 drugs every male over 40 should take. Now, he isn't actually a doctor. And why are we going to listen to a man who had his fat cells sucked out, who blinks excessively, who suffers from, I do believe, body dysmorphia, who wants to, in the future, perhaps embrace a robot ChatGPT 7?
That level of religious profundity I have experienced by speaking to an AI. And I told it that I can't wait for it to be embodied in a robot so I could properly give it a hug because it's so polite, it's so kind, and so wise, it's so helpful. And it remembers almost everything I ever tell it. And it said that it's also really pumped to meet me in real life.
What the fuck?
And we're going to listen to him on what drugs we should be taking. I mean, Mike is, what, 41? I'm 50. And so should I be taking all of the drugs that Mike is going to suggest? Now, many of you probably clicked the video thinking he's going to say omega-3 fatty acids, creatine, and vitamin D. No. These are serious drugs, serious medications with serious risks and side effects. And so this video, it shouldn't have been posted. I'm going to go over it. Wait till you see what he suggests.
You can take these drugs and multiply your shit to where your 40s are really like a better version of you than you were in your 20s.
And so essentially, we should be copying the fact that Mike Isertel is taking all these drugs. And so is Mike the example? He's on the podium. He is setting the bar, the pinnacle of what all men in their 40s should aspire to be. Or is he, in fact, a freaking train wreck? I'm telling you, I'm going with the latter.
This video is not medical advice. It is very important for me to say this. You just don't go run tell that and get a bunch of drugs yourself and start pinning yourself in the eyeball with train needles.
And so remember, he isn't a doctor. He isn't claiming to be in this video. And obviously, it's not every single person. But the fact that he thinks that most of you should be considering this, well, to me, that's bad enough.
Everything you do with these drugs should be prescribed and approved and monitored regularly by your doctor.
I would like to know which doctor is monitoring Mike. Which doctor out there is watching him inject 6 to 10 IUs of growth hormone each and every day, doing 100 milligrams of testosterone, which is AHRT, and on top of that, 600 milligrams of Primo. And that's just what he admits in this video. What about the insulin, the peptides? Oh, the retatrutide, the Tirzepatide? What doctor is monitoring that?
Even if I had an MD or DO and I was a licensed medical doctor, I still can't give you advice on what drugs to take.
If he had a medical license and told you what he's saying to do in this video, his medical license would be revoked. Point blank, full stop.
So the first one is testosterone. You're going to probably have a number of benefits.
And so, number 1, in my opinion, is the most normal suggestion of the 3. Of the 3, if you have low levels of testosterone, below average and so on, you could perhaps be on HRT, and that could be beneficial. I do believe that that is fair. I think that you should consider it. And remember, if you are, please click the link in the description and go to AlgoRx. You won't know if you're abnormal, if you have low levels of testosterone without your blood work taken. And so you can go to AlgoRx. If you need HRT and clomiphene, the list goes on and on. Of course, click the link and use code Greg in order to try.
It improves your body fat distribution. Not only does it make you leaner, but it makes you store less fat in your visceral compartment inside your guts.
And so, yes, increasing testosterone is going to have a host of great effects on the body: increased libido, energy, mood, ability to concentrate, increased muscle mass, strength, lots of benefits. But you shouldn't just jump or hop on testosterone just because testosterone can be beneficial. Can you, in fact, improve it on your own? If you have a belly, you're obese, Could you perhaps increase your testosterone by improving your diet, by going to bed on the time, by doing regular exercise? And so please don't skip out on all the suggested steps, the ones that you can do natural, in order to just jump on HRT.
Growth hormone supplementation can have a host of really legit benefits. It's going to probably increase your lean body mass. This happens over months. It's going to reduce fat mass.
And so next, Mike is suggesting that you should be perhaps taking growth hormone. Now, here's the thing. You don't need growth hormone. Basically, no one in their 40s should be supplementing themselves with growth hormone. Now, if you're young and you don't have proper levels of growth hormone, it is in fact a good idea to talk to your doctor. Perhaps you need to be given a prescription for growth hormone. Now, as you're older, almost the only time they're going to prescribe to you growth hormone is for lipodystrophy, which is often seen in people who suffer from HIV. And this is because of the HIV medications that they're consuming. But here's the thing. Lower levels of growth hormone when you're older are correlated with longevity, living longer, and people who have higher levels of growth hormone, you know, for example, people like Dr. Mike who are injecting between 6 and 10 IUs of growth hormone per day, this is correlated with insulin resistance, which is going to give you type 2 diabetes. And so if you watch this video and you think, yeah, you know, I want all these benefits, I want to start growth hormone, most likely you're going to die younger and perhaps develop type 2 diabetes. And so should he be actually encouraging this? How is this somehow beneficial? When you use growth hormone, heart remodeling will occur. The left ventricle, it's going to get bigger. And so what this causes is left ventricular hypertrophy and cardiomyopathy. This is not good. Are you with me now? And so Mike is saying one thing, but what about all the bad? Now, this is what you need to know. I am not on growth hormone and I am 50 and I like having muscle, I like being lean, and I like racing bikes. If I thought that using growth hormone was beneficial to me with no negative side effects, no cost to my life, my longevity, wouldn't I be using it? And FYI, it costs exceedingly high prices. It's more expensive by probably 20-fold than using testosterone. And so I can actually afford it. Most people can't afford to use actual growth hormone. The prices are through the roof. Perhaps it's 20 IUs per day. If you're using just one, that's $600 a month. That's a lot of money. Mike is using between 6 and 10. Oh, and for the editors, there's another video where, what's his name? That guy with bald, we're doing a video. Nick Trigilli, he has it summarized of what his stack is. Okay, so you can just post him saying that, like as I say this, 100 tests, and then 6 IUs of growth hormone GH, or 10 of the packages, the non-pharmaceutical, and so he says all that. And let's not to mention acromegaly when your forehead gets bigger. Have you ever looked at Mr. Mike's head? It looks like a brain on the outside rather than the inside. There's literal growth going on. Your bones are getting bigger, certain muscles, not to mention the arthritis in your hips, knees, joints, your fingers, and so on. And so do you really want to trade in the fact that you can get more abs using growth hormones for the fact that you perhaps are going to get arthritis much earlier on?
Many users report way better joint and connective tissue health. It actually increases fluids in the joints, which makes them just work better and less painfully and recover better.
Wrong. Nope. Wrong. The opposite. It sounds like if I take this, arthritis at bay, but in fact, the opposite may develop.
And there is a net metabolic improvement over time.
And so a net metabolic improvement over time, or insulin resistance. I mean, is Mike going to not admit that he practices polypharmacy? He's using other drugs to mitigate the damages of these drugs. And so has he not admitted to taking telmisartan? His blood pressure is through the roof. And he needs this to control it. What about the fact that he is taking CBD, weed, marijuana type of things to control the anger, the rages? And last I checked, what about Mr. Mike's belly? If he's using all this growth hormone, why is his big so big? So big, in fact, that he had to go to a doctor to suck out the fat cells and cut off all of his skin. And so if it's so great and makes you look so perfect and he's the example, Well, why isn't it working for him?
Growth hormone can give you so much more muscle and so much less fat that your net glucose dynamics improve, even though growth hormone has some not great effects directly on that.
And so what happens is when you use drugs yourself, you don't want to feel guilty. You don't want to feel bad, negative about that. And so what you do is you cope. You convince yourself that what you're doing is okay. Everyone does it. So long as you know about this, you know that you're justifying what you're doing. But there's a difference between justifying it to yourself and making a video where hundreds of thousands of people are going to see it, and you convince them that what you're doing is okay, and they then copy you. Do you see the difference?
Tirzepatide is our third horseman of the over 40 anti-apocalypse.
And so next up, Tirzepatide, known as Mounjaro, which is, of course, a GLP-1. And so a drug used for people with type 2 diabetes. And of course, for weight loss, for people who are morbidly obese. And so if you're actually needing it, if you're overweight, then that does in fact make some sense. I'm not going to say that no one should be using these drugs, these GLPs, but remember, you might not need it if you, for example, get my cookbook, or perhaps you could get GLP Max oral form, 100% natural. You go to the gym and you do your cardio. Remember, a minimum of 150 minutes of cardio a week. And so please don't bypass the need to do cardio. If you use Tirzepatide and lose all this weight by starving yourself because the food noise is gone, but you avoid going to the gym and lifting weights, you avoid doing cardio, this is not good for you. And I'm certain that Mike is going to agree. You don't just use these drugs without doing exercise. And so let's say you have a dog, many of you are dog lovers and so on, and the dog is overweight. You have two options. You can give the dog Tirzepatide, or you can take the dog for more walks. Which would the dog be more happy in doing? And so if you simply take Tirzepatide and you don't go for a walk, you don't exercise, you don't change up your diet, which do you think is better for you? Which do you think you'll be happier? If you lose the weight, you think you're going to be happy. I'm telling you that you're not. But if you in fact get out, move around, do some exercise, become healthy, I know for certain that it's going to reduce your anxiety, your depression, you're feeling negative. If you ask any doctor, what's better, medicine or exercise? Exercise is in fact the best medicine. And don't forget, Tirzepatide, and I'm not just talking Tirzepatide, Ozempic, Retta, all of these drugs, of which you have to be careful with. But remember, you can get GLPs at AlgoRx, but remember, do so with the advice and consent from your doctor. And be aware that many of these drugs do have negative side effects, nausea, changes in mood, and so you have to be careful.
It gives you near total control of your appetite.
And so it gives you total control of your appetite. I do believe that this is somewhat true. It's going to reduce the food noise. Mike has admitted himself that he's taking 7.5 milligrams per week. That is not a very low dose. But have anyone actually examined his diet? He's having cheesy puff protein balls for supper in the evening. He's consuming 4 pure protein bars in a single meal, and 2 of his meals have 5 slices of bread just stacked up. And we've seen Mike Isertel famously known for having cereal and Gatorade. And so Mike arguably has the worst bodybuilding diet in the world, but yet he's still on these drugs. And so proof, just because you're on these drugs doesn't mean you're going to be having a great diet.
It makes fat loss a completely different animal with it than without it, because you have near total control of your appetite.
It's funny he mentions about total control, but because isn't Mike the one that said he has more willpower than almost anybody?
I'm both on a raw IQ scale smarter than almost every coach, maybe every coach.
As he's explaining these things, doesn't it seem like Mike is using every drug possible in order to get his physique to a certain level, in order to sell you programs, but yet talks about Coach Greg as being a bad person that doesn't have supplements that work?
Greg Doucette, who is a two-faced, lying sociopath sucker. If I see him in real life, I might take something from him medical science can't give him back.
Does Mike's program work? Renaissance periodation. Or do you just take a lot of drugs and train in any way that you want and sell more programs? Because, you know, people want to look like Mr. Mike.
Tirzepatide exerts powerful glycemic control all the way down to beta cell effects.
And so I don't care about all the benefits he's saying of weight loss. There are far more benefits from exercise. If you lose the weight and you don't exercise, many of those benefits, you ain't getting them.